I think so.
All right, so I'll call to order the April 2nd meeting of the Chagrin Falls Board of Education. Ms. Brudno, if you please take the roll.
Mr. Rankin.
Here.
Mr. Kanziger.
Here.
Mrs. Burrows. Unmute yourself. You're on mute.
Sorry.
There you
Here.
go. Mrs. Garvey
Here.
and Mrs. O'Toole.
Here.
All right, this week we'll skip the Pledge of Allegiance, but I've got an idea. Next week I'll put it in as my backdrop and we can say it that way. So we'll go ahead and move on then to Superintendent's Reports. At this point, I'll turn over the meeting to Dr. Hunt for the Superintendent's Reports.
So thank you. Good evening. Hope everyone, board-wise, family, everyone's healthy, and certainly to our broader community that is either watching this now or maybe we'll watch it in replay. It's been a difficult couple of weeks for a lot of people, and in these times, we certainly appreciate living in Chagrin Falls, watching everyone come together. So I wanted to just briefly, I know it provided the Board of Education with an update on House Bill 197, but there's been a lot of significant action from our legislature and our governor, providing some flexibility and relief for school districts as we kind of have ventured into this virtual online learning. So I do want to hit some highlights of House Bill 197. I know some of you or most of you are familiar with these, but I think it's important to share with our community. So a few items that were in House Bill 197, which was signed by the governor last week, is a removal of all state testing. There'd be no report card rankings from the 1920 school year that would be released next year. In terms of the third grade reading guarantee, essentially the authority was given to the building principals, teachers, and guidance counselors to determine if they believe if a student is reading at or below grade level and make a decision on retention. So much like the building or gurney deals with in every other grade level in terms of whether a student should be retained or not, the same thing would apply for the third grade reading guarantee. Very similar authority was given to the high school principal in terms of graduation. The House Bill 197 allowed for the graduation of students enrolled in the class of 2020 to graduate if the principal, in conjunction with teachers and counselors, determined that students have met the appropriate curriculum or that they were on track to graduate at the time of the closure. If not on track at that point, the high school administration is required to put a plan in place and monitor that as we kind of progress the last month of school or so. So Ms. Asher and Ms. Rossi have been working on that with guidance counselors, and certainly any at-risk students have been identified and they're working through that. We talked, potential, risks in terms of financial liability due to this event. One of them being kind of the related services that we need to provide special education students. Some relief was provided in House Bill 197 specific to telehealth. So our speech and language pathologists, OT, all related services that can be authorized have been authorized to provide services electronically through telehealth. And they are counting the hours the same as they would be as if they were in the same room. So that should help us in that regard. Districts are required to create a virtual learning plan. We do have one in place. However, we also need to document how we are accounting for the missed hours since the closure. So there's a minimum number of hours. I believe it's 1,011 school hours that secondary students in grades 6 through 12 have to put in every year. It's a little less for the elementary. So within our plan, we have to articulate how those hours are being made up. So we're working on adding that to the plan right now, engaging our union leadership in that. And I would anticipate either next Wednesday at our board meeting or at the following meeting, I will ask the board to approve our virtual learning plan. There's a variety of issues related to teacher evaluation and the teacher evaluation system. I don't need to get in the weeds on that, but I will tell you that our local union is working collaboratively with us as we kind of work through some of that on the teacher evaluation side. So more locally, outside of House Bill 197, we launched into kind of virtual learning on March 18th. We finished the week off prior to spring break virtually, wrapped up on the 20th. Took most of spring break off in terms of communicating with our students And then as of this Monday, back on the 30th, we were back into virtual learning. I'm extremely proud of our staff and students, and certainly appreciate all the support of the Board of Education and the parents during this last couple of weeks. We do and have been working on a survey for our parents to solicit some feedback on how this is going on their end, and we anticipate that being launched tomorrow. We want to turn that around fairly quickly because we want that data and information to drive whatever changes we need to make to ensure that we are reaching kids and engaging them on an appropriate level. We've shifted this week to begin our work on staffing. We're looking at next year scheduling and planning, and I would hope by the April 15th board meeting to have an update for the Board of Education on staffing moving forward. So that's just a brief update of what's been kind of going on at the state level and locally. And I'm certainly, if you have any questions or comments regarding, what I spoke of, feel free to, ask them at this time.
I don't have anybody. Any other questions?
That would conclude my report, Mr. Rankin.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Next, we'll move to Superintendent's Recommendations. Can I have a motion for Superintendent's Recommendation 4A through 4A?
So moved.
Second. Sorry.
Okay, moved and seconded. Dr. Hunt, would you like to speak to these?
Sure. This is a resolution extending the payment of our classified staff during the extent of this closure. And I know Mrs. Bruno, you feel free to jump in. We've looked at, the cost, the cost to the district in terms of what we might pay in unemployment, in keeping our staff or moving towards unemployment. They would continue to collect that over the summer where normally they're not paid. So financially, we don't believe it to be a great incentive to try to save money. Additionally, I believe there's some cultural and staffing things that or issues that would arise from this. And I think it's important for the board to know, especially as you're talking with our constituents out there, we have engaged these employees. They've continued to be engaged, and I would see that increasing in weeks to come. So I just wanted to quickly, and you're going to get highlights of this in the board report as well, but our transportation department, when the stay-at-home order went in place, we kept pretty much our facilities vacant all of spring break, but we've started to bring our mechanics in one at a time, rotating days so they can begin to work. Starting next week, we're going to rotate drivers in to help clean buses, obviously respecting and be cognizant of any social distance requirements. Our food service employees have rotated through and assisted with meal preparation and actually going out and purchasing food for the families that are on free and reduced lunch. We have opened that up to additional families in need in our district, and we're currently providing food for about 12 families in the district. Our drivers are rotating through and dispersing those meals on a weekly basis. Our bus drivers are also helping our technology department when we've gotten Chromebook issues or breaks and fixes. They're transporting those back and forth. Most recently, as of yesterday, we transported all the necessary hotspots to our families that did not have internet services, so we engaged drivers in that way as well. Custodial maintenance have been engaged throughout. We've retained a very minimal level of staffing and closed all buildings the week of spring break. This week, we've increased the staffing levels slightly, allowing access for staff to pick up materials and supplies as they've needed. And we've also began reintegrating our grounds workers into a schedule as the grass will continue to grow and needs outside. We anticipate additional increase in staffing next year as the buildings are going to require some additional cleaning, water running through our pipes, basic maintenance that needs to happen. Obviously, again, we'll respect the needs and desires with social distancing and those requirements as well. So we'll continue to monitor health and safety recommendations. As of the end of this week, all of our educational aides have been assigned to at-risk students, and that's not just special education at-risk students. Any students that we've had trouble kind of keeping engaged in an online environment. If parents have reached out and said they're really struggling, we've designated these employees or educational aides to individual students where they're helping with accountability and helping ensure that the students are engaged in participating in that online virtual environment. So there'll be dedicated students work out or reach out to them, have scheduled times, interact with them and support them to make sure they're continuing on. So this MOU is to continue to compensate these employees from now until the end of the year. And it's the recommendation that the board approve that.
Gotcha. Okay, any discussion amongst the board? All right, Ms. Brudno, if you'd please take the roll.
Mr. Rankin,
Yes.
Mr. Kanziger,
Yes.
Mrs. Bros, Mrs. Bros, Mrs. Garvey,
Yes.
and Mrs. O'Toole.
Yes.
All right, next up, treasurer's recommendations. Can I have a motion for the treasurer's recommendation 5A to 5A?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay, Ms. Brudno, if you'd like to walk us through this one.
Absolutely. So in the past, with the sunshine laws, we were
I can't hear you, Ashley.
Yeah, same.
there. Okay, sorry. So the law used to not allow this type of meeting. It allowed for a board member to call in to maybe participate in discussion, but not to be counted as present at the meeting and not to vote. House Bill 197, given all of the issues that we're dealing with right now, made it so that we can operate meetings like this. We can count every person as present, and you can all vote. So in order to implement that, we need to approve a resolution just stating that we're going to operate board meetings in this manner for the time being, in accordance with what's allowed under House Bill 197. The one thing that you do need to be aware of is we do, as a district, have a policy allowing public participation. That's not a law that's required, but it's something that we value as a district. So we have implemented that into our policies. For right now, what this resolution does is suspends that policy while we have to have meetings this way. So I just want to make everyone aware that that is the case. Obviously, you can't stand up at a meeting and participate like you would if you were in person. But we want our community and everyone to know that, we still want to hear you. We still want you to be able to participate. So if there's something that you would like to discuss or something you want us to know about, if there's something you want read into the record, you can always get a hold of us. You can email me. Sorry, I don't know how much of that you missed. My computer keeps doing that. You can email us anytime. All of our email addresses are available. I won't read them to you right now because it'll probably try to mute me again. But we will make sure that the email addresses are posted and available, and you can always email us if you'd like to have something read into the record at a board meeting.
Ashley, I
Yes.
did type those into the chat, so they'll be
Yes.
they'll be available on the public
Perfect.
record.
Great.
Okay, any other discussion amongst the board?
I
I'll
just
say that.
wanted to clarify. I think when Ashley was talking about public participation, it's during the meeting. I suppose you could try to email us, but certainly before or after a meeting, anybody who had a comment or a question could email either you, Phil, as the board president, or our superintendent, Dr. Hunt.
Yep.
Is
Yeah.
that, Bob and Ashley, just to clarify, if someone had a question during the meeting, they don't really have a way to access us immediately, right?
No, and that's really not how even in an in-person meeting, they
Right.
wouldn't be allowed that anyway. We have one specific designated section on the agenda for that. So this is just suspending that portion of the meeting.
Gotcha.
Just hey, question, would they have the ability to send in a video that plays? That's for the tech department.
Yeah, that would be a question for Mr. Doherty. I'm not
All right.
positive.
Just in case they want to record something instead of type it.
We'll find that out.
We'll check and we'll let you know.
Okay.
I guess my final comment is I think it's really great that, you know, the administration have worked really hard to get this together. It's a wonderful way for us to be able to have our meetings and for the publics to still, you know, have access and understand what we're talking about and what we're voting on. So thank you for all of your work on that.
Yeah, I agree. It is a fantastic way for us to meet. And actually, I pulled up the YouTube meeting as well, so I can see what they're experiencing. It's delayed by about a half a minute, but it's pretty good.
Great.
It's a pretty great use of technology.
The earlier part of the meeting went by pretty quickly, but so I just want to add my experience with my family and the feedback in the community of parents has been that the district has above and beyond exceeded anyone's expectations in terms of reacting and being prepared and keeping life going as usual and the continued learning. And at our house, it's more just a sense of when they sat down with their Chromebooks that first day, and especially for Andrew, who's my youngest, and turned it on to like live recorded videos from his teacher, you could just see him exhale. Like he needed that touch point with his normal routine. And so all the time that our staff has put into making that possible, and the administration, and I'm just very grateful and to be a part of this school district, and very blessed that we have the talent that we have. So thank you.
Well, thank you for your support. It's been a pretty chaotic 2 weeks for everyone, and you know, you have the education side, but our staff has really stepped up, and they're going above and beyond. And I have the same experience when Emerson jumps on the computer and she sees Lisa Dugach, you know, either via video or even having these Zoom meetings, she just lights up. And for us, it was always talking about trying to retain that connection piece, and I think they're doing a good job of that. I think they still need to vote on your motion, though.
They do.
I do. I've got my finger on it.
All right.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Brudno, if you'd please take the roll.
Mr. Rankin,
Yes.
Mr. Kanziger,
Yes.
Mrs. Bros,
Yes.
Mrs. Garvey,
Yes.
Mrs. O'Toole.
Yes.
All right, next we go to other business. If anybody has anything else they'd like to introduce. Actually, I was going to ask Bob just, you know, what some of the, we've heard what some of the feedback is on, you know, challenges and or successes on, you know, the teaching front. We've already heard some of that, but also, you know, technology.
From a technology standpoint, things have been, you know, Mike and his team have done an amazing job, Nancy as well, in creating the plan, and then the teachers just kind of implementing it. I mean, you were with me when we went that day, and we talked about how a great plan on paper is only as good as it's implemented. So they've done a fabulous job implementing. You know, in terms of tech problems, students hadn't been using their cameras and their microphones as much. And if there's been issues or breaks, it's been in that, you know, with the Chromebooks, either a camera or a microphone issue. And again, they just reach out to Mike's department. We're now using bus drivers to just drop them off at the home, pick up the other ones. You know, we may have a little cost increase. I haven't asked Mike, do we need to increase our kind of our stash of those to get us through the end of the year? But that's a conversation we'll have. The, you know, parent feedback, I think the interaction piece is something they value and would like to see more of. I've heard that as feedback. But I'll share out all the results from the survey from this week, and you should get a good understanding. But by and large, I think people have been very appreciative of how quickly we've pulled it together and launched it. And I would say, knowing and helping other districts that are going through this, the plan we have, if you go on a variety of websites all over Northeast Ohio and now even nationally, because I've put it out with Insert, that same plan is popping up all over the place. So I think we were a little bit ahead of the curve because of the work that was done on the front end. And, we continue to, I think we all have to realize that we're going to continue to evolve with this over the, coming weeks. And we need to be fluid and flexible and understand that, we need to modify things. And I think everybody has that attitude.
Hey, just so one thing I've heard at my house is there's been issues with like the Chromebook not recording the audio loud enough. And what seems to fix it is rebooting the Chromebook. Like make sure you turn it on and off. So you might want to send out some tricks for making sure you like tips for how to get the most out of your audio and video experience with the Chromebook.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Anything else? Any other business?
The only other business, and I know Mike has to get a link over to Ashley here. We are going to have policy meeting next. Is that Tuesday, April 7th at 1 p.m. We had that originally scheduled. I'd like to keep that if possible. Mary Kay and Greg, if you can verify that time still works. If we need to move it, we can. Just please let me know, maybe even tomorrow, because I'd like to get notice out. And we're just essentially addressing the policies that came in the last quarterly update from BASA. I'll share that out to the board in Friday's report so you can see various feedback.
I'm good on that date. It's
Okay.
still on my calendar is why. So I didn't take it off.
Okay.
And I'm good on it as well, and I will review the policy development quarterly prior to the meeting and make any notes.
Yeah, so I'll release a spreadsheet so you can actually see the not only the policies, but you can see kind of administrative comments. The administrative team weighs in. Mostly the people that are most impacted, or that's their kind of area. But you can see those comments as well as we prepare for the meeting.
I know Jill did cancel the meeting, so another notice will have to go out because I'm pretty sure that was canceled.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? I feel like the Partridge Family looking around your own screens. Everybody's in their own little box. Sorry. Okay, so the announcement of the next meeting. So next meeting will be Wednesday, April 8th at 6 p.m. Here on this channel. And I don't think we have anything for executive session, so we'll move on to adjournment if I could have a motion.
Is that me? No.
Anybody?
So moved.
Okay, a second.
I'll second that.
All right, great. Ms. Brudno, if you'll please take the roll.
Mr. Rankin,
Yes.
Mr. Kanziger,
Yes.
Mrs. Bros. Mrs. Bros.
I clicked it, I swear. Yes.
Mrs. Garvey,
Yes.
and Mrs. O'Toole.
Yes.
All right.
okay. Thank you all.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good night.
Bye.
All right.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Goodbye.